Hi everyone, I'm Pratibha Agarwal. I'm an immigration attorney. I am based outside of Washington, D.C., but our clients are all throughout the United States. They're located really from coast to coast. Some of them are even located internationally. And this is because immigration is considered a federal practice. So that means that no matter where in the US you're located or even worldwide, we can help you because we only deal with US immigration law. So I'm an attorney. Again, I'm based outside of DC, but our clients are kind of all throughout the United States. So we handle a whole array of immigration cases. So actually that's actually very, very good because if you don't know what you might be eligible for, it's really great to have a consultation. And because we kind of are familiar with business immigration, we're familiar with family-based and humanitarian work as well, we can give you kind of a broad range of options that might be best for you. And you can decide based on the timing, the process, the fees involved, and all of that, and your past immigration history, of course, as well. So feel free to give us a call to schedule a consultation. Our consultations are done by phone or by Zoom. Therefore, you just give us a call and you can be wherever you want to be. And we'd be happy to schedule a consultation. They're about 30 minutes and we can go through, sometimes I show documents depending on your case type. I show documents kind of outlining the process. So Zoom is my preference, but if you don't have Zoom, no worries at all. We do it via phone and email if we need to, or even, of course, mail for some people that are uncomfortable with email even. But anyway, we can help you with your immigration issue no matter where you're located or no matter what your immigration issue is, as long as it's an immigration issue. We should be able to give you some advice on your case. Thanks so much for joining me today. So I have a number of people on TikTok and on Facebook streaming at the same time. So just as a heads up, this is your opportunity to ask your one-off immigration questions. We do require paid consultations if you want to have one-on-one time with me. So call our office if you want to schedule a consultation. But if you have those one-off immigration questions, this is a great opportunity to ask them. Just a heads up that this is just for information. It's attorney advertising. Really, we're hoping that some people will decide to call us to schedule a consultation. But if you have those one-off questions, you don't think you need one, or you're not sure if you need one, I can certainly help you here, and I will do my best to answer your question. Okay. Again, my name is Pratibha Agarwal. If you want to call our office, we're at 703-348-1663. And of course, as you know, you're streaming with multiple people watching, so nothing that we discuss here is confidential between you and me, of course. Okay? All right, so Sunny. Hi, Sunny. Thanks for joining. Sunny says, hi, I have a speeding ticket. Does that, I think he's asking if it affects your good moral character if it's been dismissed. Yes, so just a heads up here. So good moral character, or for any crime. So basically for any crime, if you have a crime, if you have a criminal history, you've been arrested, you've even had an encounter with the police, right? For a crime to really, really have strong impact on your case, meaning you're not going to get the application, there has to be a conviction. For the most part, there has to be a conviction or a finding of guilt. This can happen in different ways, right? So usually, one example is, let's say you have a DUI. So lots of my clients come to us that have a DUI, right? So a DUI may not necessarily impact, but before we can even analyze it, there has to be a conviction. There has to be a charge. There has to be a conviction to see, is it going to have some strong impact on the immigration benefits that you're looking for? Okay, so this comes into play maybe when you're applying for citizenship, you're a green card holder and you're applying for citizenship, or you're doing an extension of status, or you have left and you're coming back in. So it could all sort of come into play there. So Sunny asked me a lot of questions about VAWA. So Sunny is on here quite often. And for those of you that are not familiar with VAWA, it is essentially for people that are married to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder. They can apply for a green card on their own without their spouse because they are a victim of abuse. They have problems in their marriage, right? And when I say abuse, it doesn't necessarily have to be physical abuse. It can be emotional abuse. It can be psychological, verbal abuse. So people qualify in different ways. So usually the people that qualify, they're married to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, and they either entered illegally or they're out of status now, or maybe, they may have some status, but their spouse is not willing to cooperate with with them in applying for a regular green card. So Sunny asked me a lot of these questions. So I'm assuming you're asking me, Sunny, about good moral character in terms of VAWA, right? So a speeding ticket, if it's been dismissed, is really not going to impact it, but good moral character. So if you ask, what is good moral character? Some of these applications require that I have good moral character. And this is across the board with all kinds of immigration issues, right? So some of these applications require me to have good moral character. So it's kind of a holistic thing. And I know I'm being kind of vague now, but it's not just one thing that's going to make you either have it or not have it. So if you're a murderer, you're not going to have it if it was recent, right? If you murdered someone recently, you're just not going to have it. That's the one thing that might throw off the balance. But let's say you have a speeding ticket, but you are holding a job, you've always paid your taxes, and your speeding ticket was a long time ago and was actually dismissed, and you've never had any other issues ever. That is not going to have that much of an impact. But let's say you have a speeding ticket every single day, and you can't hold a job, you haven't paid taxes in years, and you have domestic violence charges against you that have been dismissed. And I'm, of course, being hypothetical about all of this. That could, of course, impact your good moral character, right? So it's kind of looked at holistically, and it's looked at when you're applying for an immigration benefit, or if you are, coming in from abroad, it could impact you there too. So certainly give us a call if you think you might have a criminal issue, and you want to see how it might impact your immigration application, your extension, your application for a benefit for a green card holder going into citizenship. So it may have an impact, and it's certainly something you should look into if you think that that there are criminal issues that may impact your immigration goals. Okay, we are at 703-348-1663. My name again is Pratibha Agarwal, and the consultations are always with me, and I'm happy to do them by phone or by Zoom. All right. Hope that answered your question, Sunny. Thank you. Great. All right. So let's see. Hi, Dinesh. Hi, Manpreet. Hi, Booba. Oh, sorry, I'm like losing you guys here. Dinesh says, can you consult without fees? I do a lot of pro bono work, you guys. I am on the board of a nonprofit called Just Neighbors. We're located, the nonprofit is kind of helps low income immigrants in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. So I sit on the board of that. I've been on it for a few years now. So our nonprofit work, all of the efforts and our money and time that we give to people is run through that organization. So we don't do free consultations, but again, it's very important to us that people have access to lawyers, especially if they're low income. So I would suggest, contact your local nonprofit. If you're in the DC area, Just Neighbors, I'm going to put in a plug for them. It's a wonderful, wonderful organization with really fantastic attorneys. Again, I sit on the board. I don't do the legal work there, but we raise funds. I run the development committee. So, so that's kind of why we don't do pro bono work separate on a private basis, Dinesh. But yeah, so I don't consult without fees. Our consultation fee is $150, and I I will guarantee that you will find it valuable. Okay. Hi, Jesse. Hi, Neil. Hi, Fazia. Hi, Hidayat. Hi, Donna. Hi, Pavan. Samantha. Amir, hi BB, hi Deepa, hi Avinash, hi Lion. Wow, we got a lot of people on here. Hi Daddy D. Hi Maureen, hi Lion. Good morning. You're welcome, Dinesh. Lion says, can I file for a green card after being separated with my U.S. spouse? Remember, we did not file before. That's a great question. So again, the question is, can I file for a green card if I was married to a U.S. citizen? I'm now separated and we never filed a green card before. Yes, there is a possibility that we help people in this situation actually fairly often. So you can file, you might be eligible to self-petition for your own green card, right? So you might be eligible to self-petition for your own green card. If you are eligible, so the first thing for you to do is schedule a consultation. But if you are eligible, we would file. You would have work authorization in 6 to 8 months, and you would have a green card in about 2 to 2.5 years. And this is all done without your spouse even knowing, without even involving your spouse. So call us, definitely call us to see if you're eligible. Okay, we are at 703-348-1663. And it's okay that you didn't file before. You don't need to have an application pending to be able to self-petition, to do it on your own without a spouse. Lion is saying that they were married to a U.S. citizen. They never filed for a green card before. And yes, you might be eligible to file. So you should certainly call us and we can have a quick chat to see if you are. All right. If you're separating, fine. It's okay. It's okay if you don't live together now, as long as you live together at some point, right? You could have lived together at some point. If you don't live together now, you were married to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, you may still qualify to file on your own without your spouse. It is still kind of a family-based petition. It's humanitarian, but you might be eligible to self-petition on your own without your spouse. And you should certainly find that out, because what you get is work authorization in 6 to 8 months. You can work anywhere legally in the U.S. It doesn't matter if you had an illegal entry. It doesn't matter if you came in legally and now you're out of status. You may still be eligible. So that's certainly something for you to look into. Again, the time frame for this is you get a green card in about 2 to 2.5 years. Okay, call us for a consultation. We're at 703-348-1663. Hi, Hidayat. Hidayat says, I did the interview, but I didn't get a decision yet. Okay, so Hidayat, awesome. So sometimes with interviews, it takes a little bit of time, right? It takes a little bit of time, especially, with certain types of interviews. And I won't go into the details there on here because we have multiple people watching, but, it may be that it might take a couple of weeks. So what I would say is keep in contact with your attorney. You can always call USCIS and see what's happening as well. But if you don't get a decision in a reasonable time frame, there are some options to kind of speed that along. I don't think, Hidayat, you're there yet, given that I know your time frame a little bit. But for people that have had cases pending for a long time, for really long time, essentially what you're looking at is, you could speed it along. You could force the government to make a decision on your case. So there's a process to do that. It involves a federal lawsuit. So it is a little bit serious. We want to do some preliminary things beforehand to kind of set you up to do that. But if it's outside of normal processing times, if it's just kind of stuck in administrative processing and you don't know how to move it along, there is an avenue to make that work for you. Okay, so call us if you think that is something you're interested in. We do this. We also do this for many of our clients, where we essentially force the government to make a decision. So you really only want to do this if you have a strong case, right? You don't want to do this if you have a weak case, because essentially what you're doing is asking the government to make a decision on your case, not necessarily a good decision. But if it's a strong case, the likelihood is that it will be an approval. So again, give us a call if your case has been pending for a really long time, you want to move it along, you want to force the government to make a decision, and we will walk through what that looks like for you. Okay, we're at 703-348-1663. Hi, Hirsch. Hi, Baba. Hidayat dropped off and back on. Hi, Aryans. Let's see. Aryan says, I have a question about citizenship and how long will it take to get a fingerprint and a test. So once you apply, it usually takes about 5 months or so to get your fingerprint. So this is for citizenship. So his question is, what is the timeline for citizenship, right? So you're a green card holder for a certain amount of time. It depends on how you got your green card. That's how you decide, how many years you have to be a green card holder before you apply for citizenship. I assume, Aryan, that you qualify, but essentially, once you apply, the whole process takes about a year to a year and a half to get that interview scheduled, but you should be able to get fingerprints in place in about 5 months or so. Note, they're pretty delayed now. The service centers are delayed. They're kind of backed up. There's a lot happening given a coronavirus. So be patient. But as I mentioned, if you think it's been pending for a really long time, it hasn't moved along, you can force a decision from USCIS. So if you want a consultation, I'm happy to walk through that with you. We're at 703-348-1663. Hi, Patidar. Hi, Bun. Patidar says, I have an ITIN. I don't have a social security number. Can I take a 1099 or a W-2? So a 1099, Patidar, is for independent contractors, right? So anybody can have that. Anybody can have that. And a W-2 is for employees. So your employer, depending on what you are, you should be able to qualify. You should get one from your employer, and you should certainly pay taxes. So that goes into, someone asked earlier today about good moral character. And if your question is, should I pay taxes? I'm undocumented. I'm a non-citizen. I don't have any status in the U.S. Should I pay my taxes? And my answer to you is going to be yes, you should pay your taxes. Because if you ever become eligible for an immigration benefit, your payment of these taxes can be used to show that you are of good moral character, right? And then the other question is, if I pay taxes, will I get deported? So no. I mean, of course, you're entering yourself in the system there, right? But right now, that if you're paying taxes, it doesn't mean that these are all different agencies. Homeland Security is different from the IRS, from Treasury. So they're different agencies, and right now they're not exchanging that kind of information. So my advice would be, for you to prep yourself to be eligible for the best immigration benefits. You should go ahead and pay your taxes, go ahead and take care of back taxes, because that can only help you with any immigration benefit that might be available for you. Okay, we are at 703-348-1663 if you want to give us a call. Hi, Fuzzy. Padre there says, I have an ITIN. Sorry, I think I'm reading your questions backwards here. He says, I have an ITIN. Can I work on that? So you have to have a work authorization to be able to work. So you have to have either an employment authorization document, you have to have a visa type, like an H-1B, for example, that allows you to work, or you have to have a green card, or you have to be a U.S. citizen, right? So you have to have some kind of permission to work in the U.S. So ITIN is separate from immigration benefits. So you can't necessarily work on that. But, of course, I've had clients in the past that have gotten hired by companies you're not technically supposed to work. But, you may work on it. I mean, you might already have a job. There are people that do have jobs. It's not legal. It's certainly not legal, if that's what you're asking me. Okay. All right. I think I answered everybody's questions today. It's so nice to see you. I hope that we can help you. We can connect again on your immigration case, that I would love to chat with you. If you'd like a consultation, call our office. We are at 703-348-1663. My name again is Pratibha Agarwal, and we can help clients no matter where they are located. All right. Okay. I hope everyone has a great day. Great. What is it? Wednesday? Wow. We're losing track of the days, but I will see you guys soon. Okay. Bye.